Hello. So, this week I will be introducing one artist and talk about his songs. I have been listening to his songs for quite a while now, and I think this young man is not only very talented but also has a story to tell. Although I have listened to some of the older songs, these three will be the newer ones, or at least relatively new, and I think they will be a good introduction of him. I will be hitting the pause button from time to time, and so if you want to listen to it uninterrupted, then there's a link in the description. Hopefully, you'll come back here and maybe share some of your thoughts about it. But if you're here just to listen to what I thought about a pig, then I'll put a timestamp somewhere in the screen. And so, here's Hi Ren by Ren. I got introduced to this song probably 10, 11 months ago. Almost a year, I think. It got recommended in the YouTube dashboard, and I got curious. This first part, where he's playing the guitar, reminded me of Marcin. He's not a singer. He's trained in classical guitar and another talented young artist, probably younger than Ren. But although he's not a singer, the way Ren was playing the guitar and how he was really into it reminded me of him. Especially if you've seen the Jenny and Screech's Tale, or also the Violet's Tale. I only say that it reminded me of him because I knew of Marcin first. I have collected some passages from the song which I want to talk about. But before that, don't you think this part kind of reminded you of Schmigel and Column? I don't know. Maybe it's the way Ren acted out the negative and the positive side of him. It also reminded me of this book, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And we've seen the different adaptations and retellings of this story, but reading the book, the original story, it not only gives you a picture of the duality of oneself, but also the temptation of being the other side and the struggle of it all. I think Rem mentioned a part of it, like no matter how you bury that part of you, it'll resurface at some point. So let's go over some of the quotes that I think is worth talking about. Here's the first one. You think you can amputate me. I am you. You are me. You are I. I am we. We are one, split in two, and that makes one. This quote, this first one, kind of reminded me of a book that I'm searching for here in our place. I read this quote from this book, and it is what actually made me want to read the book. It's entitled The Gulag Archipelago by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. I'm gonna share the two quotes, which I feel like these quotes are taken from the same part of the book, but maybe from different translations since it was written in Russian. But both are beautiful and very fitting for this part of the song. And so I hope you won't mind me sharing it. Gradually, it was disclosed to me that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart. And even within hearts overwhelmed by evil, one small bridgehead of good is retained. And even in the best of all hearts, there remains an unuprooted small corner of evil. The second one, although the overall message is the same, the wordings are different, and because of this, I feel like they give you that different feeling. And I think it is still worth sharing. So here's the second one from the same book. If only it were all so simple. If only there were evil people somewhere, insidiously committing evil deed, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. And who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? And I do ask, who is willing to destroy a piece of their own heart? I think every one of us are capable of both. We're not perfect. Nobody is. Some would probably say that the negative part of ourselves is necessary in some cases, especially when one is faced in a situation where one needs to protect and defend something or someone. He also talked about, or maybe sang about, like the way we measure our own success, even happiness, by another one's metrics. And we do that, don't we? That probably explains why there are times where we just don't feel any satisfaction at all. Why we feel there's still something missing, and yet we don't know what it is. There's always that comparison of like, well, this person did it, or that person did it, so maybe I should do it too. What about if that person has it, then I should have it. Now, is that just me, or do we all go through that phase? What is success, anyways, in life? Like, who gets to define it in one's life? And who gets to establish the metrics that we so work hard to attain? Sometimes I think this measurements or standards, as we more often hear it, can be a stumbling block. A reason that may hold one back from one's happiness. And I am guilty of that. I went through a period where I did question if my decisions were the right thing to do. I know they are, I know. But there are just those times when the environment you're in and the pressure that comes with it makes you question yourself. That just because you haven't met the, shall we say, the norm and the general expectations, and you have chosen something that probably wasn't expected of you. Kind of like the poem, The Road Not Taken. You have chosen the other path, less traveled. Who was that? Frost. Robert Frost, right? Anyway, the doubts start to creep in, then they overflow, you feeling horrible, and you thinking you're this worthless thing. Yeah, it can be hard. You do feel like you're drowning mentally. Maybe even literally. But am I alone in that? Don't we all have that internal struggle? As an ordinary person, I probably won't be able to relate to the struggles an artist experiences. Maybe theirs are much more magnified because it's for all the people to see. But I think we can all agree that as human beings, we do experience doubts within ourselves. And I think this is why people gravitate toward this song, is that people can relate, regardless of their respective backgrounds. But while this message is a very common experience people have, sometimes we need a reminder of some sort, even if it's just to show that it's not just you who is going through this. And in a way, it kind of gives you that sense of comfort. I guess that's why sharing one's story does help. And I do believe that, because who knows, there might be someone from the other side of the globe who has listened to it and it greatly affected them, thus helping them in the process. There's also this part of the song where the other side is sort of like just planting these doubts on you, just dumping negative thoughts. Like in the song, you're not original, you're a ripoff. And yeah, sometimes we can be the worst critic of ourselves. The pushback, I guess, is maybe a small amount of doubt is good. It makes one strive to be better, in a way. But I guess finding that balance of not being too confident and so sure of ourselves that we would be remiss and not even try. Powerful, isn't it? Have you noticed the pacing? While the words do affect you, I think the pacing contributes to that as well. Have you noticed when the evil part starts singing? It starts slowly and then it kind of is building up. It's as if by the end of it you feel like your chest tightens, and then when you reach that point it stops and the pacing starts slow again. It's like it's slowly building up so that when it comes to the singing part, you can breathe again. So there are some additional quotes that I'd like to talk about. There's a part of the song where it says, "And you know how I'll know that I'll prosper, because I stand here beside you today. Hope. There is hope. A light at the end of the tunnel." I guess that's the message. And like what we just quoted, Ren is proof of that. He is here, standing in front of us. he is sharing his story and how he keeps going. He still continues to fight. He still chooses to live the life that he loves. He has found a way to do that through music. I don't know what Ram believes or not believe. I don't think he intentionally made that part for you to think of God. I guess it just rings different for me as someone who do believe. And I guess this song resonated with me because I was at a time at a place where I needed to hear it. I guess there is this misconception that a Christian life or a life where you do believe in God is a smooth sailing life. But the truth is, it is a life of struggle. It's a part of the human experience. Struggle. We prefer not to, but in a world that is imperfect, and with people who are also imperfect living in it, would it be fair to say then that struggle is inevitable? I knew this, but when you are confronted with these different situations where you feel like you're almost ready to give up because you felt like you don't know what to do, you felt worthless. And I'm not just talking about just one event, but that even the little things, if they pile up, I guess there is this last one straw that may trigger something. I didn't come to a point where I question it, but I did feel that helplessness. And when I heard the song, it just brought me back to that place. That place where you don't want to be in. But at the same time, the second part reminded me of that, yes, there is hope. Hope. That sometimes, even if we do know this, it is still a nice reminder. It is a nice reminder that it is not only you who goes through this. God gave me that hope at that time. When I felt like I didn't know what to do anymore. That I can help. Where it felt like, yeah, I guess it's different for everyone. that you do have something to hold on to. And whatever that may be for you, whatever or whoever it is that is dithering you, hold on to it. With regards to the spoken word part, when I first heard it, it didn't really feel like it was an added message in a song to make an impact. It did make an impact, but it also felt like it's not just spoken words that are composed, but that here is this young man, brave enough to share a piece of his life and what he has gone through. I did get curious, and true enough, it was a personal story. I don't know if it is the mom in me, but reading about what he has gone through, at the back of my mind, it felt like it must have been worse. Because what I'm reading, these are just reports, articles, and they cannot express all the details. One would think that there is far more to the story presented. That Ran goes through, I don't know, it must have been worse behind the scenes, shall we say. The articles, the songs, these are just bits and pieces of things he's willing to share. And who knows? Maybe he will share more. But to see him now, how he is now, and what he has achieved, either chosen career, his health, and then knowing what he has gone through, even if they're just bits and pieces of his life. He has, well, you do feel proud of him, even if you don't really know him. Again, is this just the mom in me, or does it just make you feel his story? He is bringing you to his story and make you relate. I know that there is a part of me that thinks he is just showing what he wants to share, but still, what he is choosing to share, a positive, well, listening to him is giving you the positive vibe. And by positive, I don't mean just happy times, but that sharing a bad situation, yet still showing that you can overcome it. I do believe that can be encouraging to other people as well, especially for those who share the same story as him. Here's another one. There were victims and there were students. Which side do you choose? And it's not saying that you eliminate the word as it is. Of course, there are victims of such horrible situations. Situations where they themselves may or may not have participated on. It's not that. I think it is as important to recognize that you are a victim of a horrible situation. Be able to express yourself, whether it be sadness or anger. But at the same time, we can stay in that place where we come to a point that it's much harder to go back because it already swallowed you whole. I guess that stage is the determining point, because everybody goes through something. Now, whether you want to stay half buried in the quicksand until you sink into it, or do something to pick yourself up, is up to you. Up to us. And by up to you doesn't mean you'll do it on your own. I don't mean that. The mere asking for help, or even just verbalizing it, recognizing that you do need help, it can actually be the first step of you helping yourself. Choosing not to be a victim anymore. But that's easier said than done, huh? Definitely not an easy road to take. I guess this is why it's good to see people like Ren in this situation. These are people who have gone through much worse. Much worse than probably most of us. And yet, here they are, still standing, choosing every day to live the life that they want. I guess on my part, if I do choose to be a student and no longer to be a victim, I have to remember this. We have to remember this when Ren said, what was that? There's a part of the song where he said, I was made to be tested and twisted. I was made to be broken and beat. I was made by his hand, is all part of his plan, that I stand on my own 2 feet. that every day is a learning experience. That experience is the best teacher we can have. It is what makes us all feel emotions. It is what makes us realize who we are. It is the first step of making us do what we need to do. Ferocious, persistent, immortal like you. We're a coin with two different sides. When I first started watching Ren, there's this point where there's this thought that maybe the pig represented something bad, that it is the enemy. The pig in his videos does look menacing. This one, on the other hand, looks kinda cute. It's my son's style. But as you continue to listen, it does make you think, what if the pig is a friend? If not a friend, maybe a liaison of some sort. Something that is connecting both parts of him. Because if you think about it, where the pig appears, we can see it in songs where Ren is talking about certain conflicts, or songs that has a harsher message, or maybe just delivered harshly. Does that make sense? But songs that show the other side of Ren. Because if you've seen his interviews, and I guess I haven't seen all, but from those that I have seen, he gives you that impression that he is not that pessimistic or combative. Quite the opposite. But songs like, well, Hi Ren, Sick Boi, Suicide, even in Love Music Part 4, it was never a battle for me to win. It was an eternal dance. So, finding that balance. The pig or the songs are probably his way of letting that other side of him out from time to time. And maybe the pig is what's saying, okay Ren, say what you want, be who you want, without fear, without the fear of repercussions. This is why there's these two books that I think is kind of related to this song. These two. Let's talk about this one first. The Double by Fyodor Dostoevsky. This book contains two stories, and I actually bought this book because of Notes from Underground. But then I saw this one and it contains another one. And so it's just there. It's just a short one, half of the book, but the double, because from the snippet of what I've read, it's like there's this man who has a doppelganger, but then after reading this one, it kind of made you think, is it really a different person, or it's just him? That other personality that's trying to come out. And Dostoevsky is kind of novel that. His novels are, well, I think majority of them are talking about the internal struggle of a man, of us, and how we rationalize things. So yeah, definitely a next read, and really looking forward to it. Now this one, we all know the story, and this song is why it reminded me of this book, because Dr. Jekyll wrestled with it. He bottled that other side of him that when it came out bursting. Let's just say it didn't end well. Oh, I just remembered, the pig was also a murderer. It's even an accomplice. But anyway, Hi Rem. That's the song, right? Accepting that other part of you and finding that balance, that they may coexist in a healthy way. Worst case scenario is that you'd end up like Dr. Jekyll if you lose the battle. There's this quote from the book that I would like to read. But before that, there's a word in this book that the modern age has had another meaning to it. I think especially in the US. I think. And that it may sound derogatory. But just a disclaimer, this book was first published in the 1800s. Yes, let me see. 1800s. I'm pretty sure. It is considered a Victorian novel. I'm just not sure if it's here. Yeah, it is a Victorian novel, so most likely in 1800s. And so knowing that, the first definition would just fit best, at least in this context, because it just means a bundle of sticks. And this is where Dr. Jekyll is talking and asking about these two personalities bundled together in that one mind, one person, and is always in conflict with each other. I do think this quote just fits with the song and the topic that we are talking about. And so I guess I will leave you with this. It was the curse of mankind that these incongruous faggots were thus bound together, that in the agonized womb of consciousness these polar twins should be continuously struggling. How then were they dissociated? But then the question is, can you separate them? Can you actually separate these two thoughts, these two personalities? One might say that this book is far more than just the duality of one's personality, but is delving more to the mental illness side of it, the disorder part of it. But if you just take in at the surface level and you just like just having this negative and positive sides of us. I mean, Solzhenitsyn said it, right? Dissociate. How can we separate these two when Solzhenitsyn said that no matter how bad a person is, there is still a bit of goodness in him. And no matter how good one is, there is still a bit of bad in him. So how can we resolve that? And that is the question, isn't it? I guess we're gonna answer that somewhat. Learning, accepting that is a part of you. Someone who is not perfect. Far from it. But accepting it. And then finding that balance of how you can express both. Thus learning, I guess. Learning the steps in the dance of life. Because, as Ran said, lest we forget, we are just human beings.